Hello and welcome. My name is Shannon Kemp, and I'm the Chief Digital Officer of DATAVERSITY. We would like to thank you for joining the latest installment of the monthly DATAVERSITY webinar series, Advanced Analytics with William McKnight. And just to let you all know, next year we're going to be changing up the name of the series a little bit to Advanced Architecture for Analytics with William. And today, William will be discussing how to become an AI-ready organization, sponsored this month by IBM. Just a couple of points to get us started. Due to the large number of people that attend these sessions, you will be muted during the webinar. For questions, we'll be collecting them via the Q&A section. And if you'd like to chat with us or with each other, we certainly encourage you to do so. And to open the Q&A panel or the chat panel, you can find those icons in the bottom middle of your screen for those features. And just to note, the chat defaults to send to just the panelists, but you may absolutely change that to network with everyone. As always, we will send a follow-up email within 2 business days containing links to the slides, the recording of this session, and additional information requested throughout the webinar. Now, let me introduce to the speaker for the series, William McKnight. William has advised many of the world's best-known organizations. His strategies form information management plan for leading companies in numerous industries. He is a prolific author and a popular keynote speaker and trainer. He has performed dozens of benchmarks on leading database, data lake, streaming, and data integration products. And with that, I'll give the floor to William to get his presentation started. Hello and welcome.
Thank you, Shannon, and welcome everybody. I trust my screen sharing is going well now. I hope that this finds you all very timely because it is the end of the year and you're thinking about next year, and many of you have your budgets done and so forth, and a lot of AI is going to be in there undoubtedly. And so now you're left with, well, do we just do the project or are we really ready? Maybe there's some readiness steps that we need to insert at the beginning of these new AI projects to our organization to make sure we're ready, to make sure we're ready with our processes, to make sure we're ready organizationally, and also to make sure we're ready with our data and our architecture. And those are the 3 areas that I'm going to cover today. I can say that I think without a doubt, if you cover all these bases, you are capital R ready for AI in 2025. And as Shannon mentioned, I look forward to having you back here in 2025 for what will henceforth be known as Analytics Architecture with William McKnight. And I enjoy that because we're going to get to dive into more architectural issues, and look forward to seeing you back here second Thursday of the month in January and beyond. So, big change is coming to the organization. Yes, and we're the reasons. We in tech, we in data are big reasons why this is so. I see 2025 budgets as being full of Gen AI, which is great. I like new toys. I've talked a lot about how that can be applied to great bottom line results for the business. It won't happen in every case, and there's a lot of tire kicking as well, and spitballing, if you will, of Gen AI going on out there as well. Of course, with anything new, there's going to be the good and the bad in terms of the use of that, but there's other things that are happening as well around AI. Hundreds of companies will be built around an API for an LLM. We see that already. New companies spawning all the time, all the time. Every week I'm reviewing multiple new AI companies. There's more than I can review. It is incredible. And the startups that I'm seeing will not necessarily create the AI themselves, but they will use the API. So it takes a lot of resources to build an LLM of any merit, at least a large language model, maybe not a small language model. Maybe some of you all could be in positions to do that. We'll get to that. But the use of them is going to be widespread. And nearly every industry and nearly every vertical is being transformed today. We're at the beginning or middle of transformation of industries based upon this new thing called AI. And AI is absolutely going to be essential for success and relevancy in the decade to come. Companies are using these techniques in software and statistical models to make predictions and drive business forward. Yeah, in a way they can't do with humans. That's kind of the bottom line. A lot of the analysis is being turned over to AI as well. So we're ending up as humans to have to be a little bit sharper about what we can do with data, because a lot of the curation is happening before it gets to us as humans. And we're still in the loop for sure. As a matter of fact, I think 2025 will be as in the loop throughout the year as we are today. Many enterprises are starting to use these tools, and the tech sector is absolutely being formed by building and using these APIs for LLMs. Now, you may have heard me say this phrase. I like it. Beyond the mountain lie more mountains. And so it's not just AI that's happening. It's all of these things that are happening, and they're all big trends. Quantum computing, data being on the balance sheet, edge compute, edge AI, really. Global economic shifts, yeah. Automating of jobs, AI agents. I won't go down that rabbit hole, but that is going to be huge. I've been wondering. I see the power of AI. I saw it maybe a couple years ago. I saw its transformative capabilities. I was wondering, what form will it take to start actually taking over processes in the organization and in our personal lives? And that form is going to be AI agents. AI agents are absolutely going to be huge. I don't know if, I think we're going to get started on them this year. Maybe 26, it'll be a strong trend, but also automated data discovery as well. So what's new today is old tomorrow. And leaders must recognize that the pace of change in the AI industry, what we're having is the new normal. And so a lot of the "are you ready" stuff that I'm sharing with you now, if you haven't really taken to readiness in the past for new things, you really need to now. And not only will these readiness actions be important for AI, which is the gist of the presentation, but it's going to be important for all of these things. Organizations just have to be prepared for major change. AI is here, and it is our responsibility to get ahead of it. Yeah, you probably already have AI, no matter who you are, listening to a presentation like this, virtual assistants, automated data processing tools, call transcription software, and perhaps CRM, underwriting, fraud detection. All these things have been turned over to some degree to AI. So I put the horse and buggy on this slide here because the old ways are kind of like the horse and buggy, and we've got to get away from it. And organizations will drive efficiency. They will drive efficiency, and that is how we're all set up. And so that is a must. And if organizations are not driving efficiency today, they will do so tomorrow. And in short order, they will have to. AI is absolutely driving tons of efficiency in enterprises. In the absence of information, however, some people will go to the worst case scenario. I've heard things like more or less on a personal level, things like, I heard my friend's nephew lost his job to AI, and anecdotes like that. And people are extrapolating all sorts of things from what they're hearing out there. Some right, some wrong, most wrong. And I can tell you for sure, people don't know what's going to hit them with AI and how it's going to change. And I don't mean they won't all lose their jobs or anything like that. I just mean the change in life itself. So I used this slide a couple of months ago, and one of my regular viewers texted me afterwards and say, "Hey, I learned a lot from that slide. That slide was really great for me." So I thought I'd bring it back. Wow, if it meant so much to him, maybe it means something to other people. I don't know. But a part of me was thinking, well, does that mean the other hundreds of slides that you've heard me pitch you didn't get much out of? I will think not. I will think not. But here's my point is, if you improve any of these things by 1 point, it pays for the whole project. Any of these things that are important at the board level, which is why for any project I work on, I want to know which of these things or something equivalent are we really working on here? And I want to improve it by a point. I want to pay for the project many times over. So that's a goal of mine. And I offer it to you. I have a list here of things. that I've sort of accumulated over time. And of course, it depends on your industry, but maybe reducing fake claims or inflated claim amounts, multiple claims for the same incident. If you can drop those by a point, I mean, like if that's running at 4%, you're an insurance company, that's running at 4%. If you can drop that to 3%, oh yeah, you will more than pay for the project. And by the way, I'm not talking about dropping at 1%. It's a point, a whole point. So not 4% to 3.96%, 4% to 3%. And this is true for fraud, returns, customer retention, supply chain efficiency. So I ask you right now, the project you're working on, what is it trying to do for the business? And what are the goals in context of the things that I have here and things like this? Yeah, sure. Data quality is a big part of it, but these are enablers for something at this level. So AI has got to be that as well. I guess that's the point. AI has got to be that as well. AI implementation and use cases. So what can we use AI for? Well, you've probably heard a few things by now. Maybe you heard my presentation in August where I talked about this, and these are the use cases that I drew out in August. And there I've created a tiny URL for you, McKnight AI, so that you can go there directly and watch that presentation on YouTube. It's all these things and much more. And I gave customer examples. I happen to be thinking that Gen AI has been pretty successful this year. A lot of my colleagues will say, no, it hasn't been. We haven't done a lot. Yeah, well, if you look hard enough, you find that it's done a lot in 2024, and it will do a lot more in 2025. All these things and more. So really, for you in 2025, picking what you're going to apply AI to is very important. That is going to be very key to your success as an organization using AI. So where do you look for these AI opportunities? I gave you a list, but that's sort of finite. That may not apply to your business. Well, let's look at the products you make and the services you offer. And can we put some AI in any of that? How about the supply chain for those products and services? Once you get through a list like this, you've got another list. You've got a list of the possibilities. And then we get back to prioritizing and choosing which way to go. And that being very important. You want to do something that has good business impact. You want to do something that is relatively easy to do if you haven't been doing AI before. And you want to do something that is setting up other things, maybe from a learning perspective, or maybe just from the perspective of laying the groundwork with AI and algorithms that you can build on top of and grow with. So it's everywhere. It's everywhere. Everywhere are AI opportunities. I don't know if that was good English, but okay, it's big change. Organizations implementing AI have recognized the need to make significant changes. But people, and we are going to focus on the people dimension here today a bit, people instinctually don't like change to begin with, of any kind. And that's what I've learned. When you add AI coming into the workplace, that's making the issue even worse if you don't get ahead of it. So we want to demonstrate how it's a driver of company efficiency, how the company exists to be efficient. And instead of having the fear grow with people thinking it's going to hinder them or replace them, which by the way, I don't see that it's going to happen. That's going to happen in 2025. That makes a presentation like this a lot easier. Frankly, I think job destruction is down the road, but not too far. And so I may have a much more uncomfortable time presenting this topic in about a year from now, where these stakes are different for a lot of people. And I've said a lot on this topic, a whole presentation on what the world will be like in 2050 as a result of AI. And that's sprinkled with this type of information. So grab that if you'd like more on that. But implementing AI in an organization requires significant changes, which can be daunting for employees who instinctually resist change. The introduction of AI in the workplace can exacerbate the issue. It can turn people off from wanting to do the project. It can create sabotage type situations. I've already experienced this. And I think the key is education. But do know that 2025, it's going to be great. It's going to be great in terms of AI. There's going to be a lot of AI. AI will come out shining bright. We're just at the start of general AI. And once we get to general AI, this is when the machine has the capacity to understand or learn any intellectual task that a human being can. And AI, frankly, already can in spots. But general means everything. General means, yeah, everything. Okay, I'll leave it at that. We have opened a new chapter in machine learning, we people of Earth. Its most striking feature is its generality. We can give it things like optimize my company. We can give it things like maximize profits for the next quarter. And it can help us with that. And one day it can actually do that. It can take a goal like that and weave it into our automated processes. And boom, the company is starting to work in a different way to reflect a new goal. I see, I've said this many times, I see by 2050 major corporations being run by AI, where the CEOs just have dials. And yeah, they tweak their dials and the company runs. We will adapt to this. It won't be pleasant at times. It's going to be a tough couple decades for a lot of people as a result of this, but we will adapt to large language models like we have adapted to other technology, but will be changed. Will be changed. We'll be different people. We'll be fundamentally different people as a result of AI. But enough of that. Let's get into our enterprise and talk about the processes of AI within our enterprise that we need to have in order to maximize AI in 2025. So I like this quote: managers are people who do things right, while leaders are people who do the right thing. And I want you to be a leader, and AI desperately needs leaders. And leadership is lacking in AI because a lot of the AI leaders don't have the vision for AI, don't even really have the knowledge of what AI can be. They're very tactical. And so let's put the bigger hat on here today, at least, and that will impact all our decisions going forward. We want to align AI with business goals. This is a no-brainer. We say this about everything practically. But it never fails to not be true in many, many cases. So, and this is definitely something that I see today already, AI not being aligned with business goals. I want you to have a firm grasp of the business issue that you're attempting to address and the value that you're providing. What's the bottom line on what you're doing? How is it impacting the company? Back to my one point rule. Remember my 1-point rule. How are we impacting a point that's important to the business with what we're doing right now? When you're done with this webinar and you go back to work, what are you doing that's impacting what point? Okay, so you should specify your machine learning solution or your AI solution success criteria, anticipated results, and KPIs. In addition to engaging in communication with stakeholders and users, it is advisable to ascertain their requirements, anticipations, and input. Now, what I found is that users have great input to AI, but they don't have the whole picture. And we who come on webinars like this and learn about AI and are the AI leaders and champions in our organization, and many of you, as I do, come from the data world because it's part of data. We need to be bringing those possibilities to our organizations, to the table. We need to boost productivity and effectiveness, always a business goal. Bring people to higher value added tasks, Always what I like to say, raising the foundation of the business. If your foundation, the foundation of your business, that which you build upon, is the same a year from now as it is today, then you've not moved forward or stayed still. You've fallen behind. We need to be raising the foundation of everything we do, automating and streamlining repetitive tasks, improving decision-making, personalizing experiences, optimizing resource allocation, weighing out those compromises. Judgment is still essential. Human judgment, still part of this. Remember, choosing what we apply AI to, very important. That's a human judgment right there. And there's so much. There is still so much AI technical need from a human in the process of an AI project. It's beyond anything else that I've ever worked on, actually, at this point. It'll change, but it's beyond. And I know we've got our assistants from Microsoft, for example, and others. But still, there's so much human involvement in this. Good news or bad news, that's what it is. So know what you're building. An AI program, which will provide analytics, automation, personalization, et cetera, whatever it is, for several projects. What are you working on? You're working on AI. You're working on some sort of AI project, but how much of what you're doing needs to go back into the company in terms of the way you're doing things on this project? Let's say it's your first AI project. How much of that needs to be understood by the rest of the business so they can do it, so they can repeat the good things that you're doing, and maybe understanding that you're one of the first projects out of the gate. There's going to be a few missteps. You have to commit. You have to commit. Your first project is going to require more human intervention than you think. It's going to take longer than you think, probably, than you plan for. But it'll settle in. You have to be committed. You have to pick your winners. AI is a winner in my book. And therefore, I'm committing my clients. I'm committing everybody really to it. And so that might mean we take a few errors in the beginning, but are we working on a program that we're contributing a lot back to the business? Or are we working on a project, just trying to get it done, just trying to do fraud detection, just trying to do targeted marketing or predictive maintenance, not really worried about the enterprise? That happens too. Maybe you're rewarded based upon just that. But I suggest that every project should be a program. Every project should contribute back to the business for the future, making the future more efficient. Benchmark your AI stack. The AI stack is very complicated. It's more complicated than a data lake stack or a data warehouse stack or an analytics stack or anything that I've ever worked on, because it's all of that and more, really. And I've had whole presentations on just what the stack is. So here's some of the things that you want to be looking at as you build your stack and try out different things. Unfortunately, you really do need to try out your stack before you apply it. If you haven't done that yet, you need to build it into your project, that you need to leave some opportunity for not using the tools you're thinking right now that you might be using because they did not work out in your benchmark. I also find that many organizations don't do benchmarking very well. Now, this is a very big service of ours. I'll just put it out there. What I find with enterprises doing this on their own, they don't scale it appropriately. They run out of time, and all they've measured is performance. They haven't measured everything else. Maybe they haven't even done it very apples to apples, if you will. So it's not as easy as it may seem. You got to make it fair too, to all the competitors. Maybe you haven't made it fair. So there's a lot of things to consider as you benchmark your AI stack. The other strong suggestion I'm going to have for you right now, even though you're at the beginning, is adopt MLOps early. Remember all that I said about making it a program? Well, MLOps helps make it into a program. So ML initiatives can work in isolation, resulting in difficulties aligning workflows between ML and other teams. To be effective, ML training requires large quantities of high-quality data, and ML data science work requires a large amount of trial and error, making it hard to plan. You got to know how you're pathing your ML and AI to production. And yes, a lot of the oldies but goodies remain in terms of you've got your development area, you've got maybe a QA area, you've got your staging, you've got your production, and maybe beyond. You still got all that. But Now we're adding AI algorithms, and you might want something like a data IQ, for example, to help you with this area of ML so that these algorithms can be reused efficiently within the organization. ML ops is essential for scaling ML. Without it, enterprises risk struggling with costly overhead installed projects, really. And there are several vendors that have emerged with offerings to support ML ops. I won't go through them all here today. A lot of open source, I'll add, probably better than nothing, but you can improve on that as well. Strive for iterative pipelines, reproducibility, reusability, manageability, and automation. So when you think you have laid out your process, and ML ops technology is not enough for ML ops. That's just the technology side of it. You still need all these things. So make this your checkbox. Make sure that when you think you're done, you can say, oh, okay, our models are reproducible. Our models are reusable. People know where they are. They know what they do and how to get it. They are manageable. They're all here in a common place. And it's automated. As with DevOps, continuous integration and delivery require automation to assure rapid and repeatable pipelines, particularly when these are augmented by governance and testing. Can otherwise be a bottleneck. Oh, here's another one. Coming your way, explainable AI. How many of us can really explain our AI today? I'd say not many, but I'd say many more need to. And you got to know the path to explaining it at some level. Explainable AI helps you anyway. It helps you improve decision-making, identify bias and fairness, reduce risk and compliance, foster collaboration and user acceptance, and so on. What you see here. So it's not a bad thing. It just takes time and may be a little bit hard if you don't make that part of your process. So I say make it part of your process. Many of you are familiar with the EU AI Act. If you have customers in Europe or any business in Europe, you are familiar with that. And something like that is going to spread. I don't know how fast it's going to spread here to the US, but knowing how to explain your AI will be good. Now, you're not going to realistically be required to explain the details of the algorithm. But let me give you an example. Back in 2018, IBM developed an AI-powered loan approval system for a major bank. Okay, that system used machine learning algorithms to analyze loan applications and make approval decisions. We're all familiar with that process, right? But what it also provided is the top 3 features that contributed to the prediction. For example, if they have a high monthly bill, that might have been a 35% contribution to the decision. Frequent customer support calls, that might have been 25% of contribution. Recent change in billing plan, that might have been 20% of the contribution, and so on. So it built a system, IBM built this system that explained itself, and I'm just surprised that so many systems have not continued that and explained what they're doing. So you want responsible data collection, responsible development, which means taking into account how AI is developed and used and how ethical considerations, including fairness and privacy, are addressed. We'll get back to that. Trustworthiness, explainability, discrimination, so reducing the probability of algorithms making biased decisions based on factors like race, gender, ethnicity, or religion. Right now, those are the 4 categories that you must watch out for. You must ensure that your data, your training data, is reflective fairly of these factors. And privacy, protecting user data and ensuring user autonomy with regard to their own data. I think we're largely doing a pretty okay job at that. Now let's move to organizational readiness. You might call it data DevOps, but people are going to experience a range of emotions. I've already talked a little bit about this today, and it's a big part of change readiness for AI. It's a part of readiness organizational readiness that you probably haven't done much of because you haven't had to. Everything's been sort of okay, next big thing. Maybe you felt like data lakes were that in your organization. Okay, it's the next evolution of the data warehouse, et cetera, et cetera. But this is different. This is different. This is almost letting machines do the thinking behind the decision-making process. It requires more organizational readiness because you're going to have people that are going to be concerned about their jobs. And again, I'm breathing a sigh of relief because I honestly don't think it's going to be destruction in 2025. But check back next year and we'll see what I have to say then, if I can even address the topic, because it's going to be so difficult to address at some point. But we're already seeing it now. We're seeing it in terms of more not hiring versus layoffs and stuff like that. Now, there's been plenty of layoffs. Don't get me wrong. We all know it. A lot of it has to do with macro factors and so on. But when is AI going to affect this? Don't know. Don't know. I do know that eventually, as a result of AI, I shouldn't say I know. I don't know. It's the future. But I do believe that the need for work will be less at some point. I believe there will be decades of pain, though, for those who are displaced, because we're not going to come around to supporting this new need for working less for a while, especially in America. Some form of universal basic income will probably have to take hold, but it will be decades, and you know it. So there's going to be pain in the meantime, starting at some point. I don't know when, but I kind of put a stake out there around 2050, which I call the awakening. I call that a turning point in civilization when we have fully adopted AI. We understand its good and its bad. We're not holding on to old beliefs about work and how things should be. But it's going to take some time. Going to take some time. So why the resistance right now? Change. Just change. Change is hard. Change feels hard when people don't feel competent. Change feels hard when people don't feel competent. ROI concerns. Is this really driving ROI? I've talked a little bit about this. I've talked about the 1 point. Credibility. Are these people that are advocating AI, are they credible to be doing this to our organization? And this terminology they're using, if they're using all these new acronyms and so on, just not going to work. Organization and governance alignment with our current values that are posted in the lobby. Does AI align with that? Focus on the process. You're focusing on the process and not the outcome. You're talking about all these algorithms you're going to use and how much fun it's going to be. But what about the outcome? That's what most people care about. So people fall on this bell graph in terms of how they accept change. And to some people, no big deal. To others, it's a huge deal. And you could look into this crossing the chasm kind of idea here. I like it. I get it. I think it's true here. The ones in the middle, you're going to have to deal with them, but the skeptics, the laggards, you might have to deal with them a little bit more. And the study shows that laggards are about 16% of people out there. So do you have to bring them all along? I think you need to try. I think everybody deserves that. Okay. The stages of change that people will go through when they hear AI, when you're in your organization, you're all happy, you're going to get to play with AI. But most people are going to go through these stages. I'm sorry, but this is true. Pre-contemplation, failing to recognize the need for change. As someone who has sold professional services to the enterprise, $1 billion worth in my career, I've seen this time and time again. Contemplation, seriously considering the need for change. Preparation, making small changes. Okay, I'm moving in the direction mentally. I'm moving in the direction. And the action, taking direct action towards the goal. So these are professional stages. Of course, there are personal stages, which is another study I believe if I get this right, it's like grief, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. It's amazing how every bad thing that happens in our life, we go through this. Maybe we go fast, maybe we go slow. But I look back at the big and the small sort of bad things that have happened in my life. And yeah, there's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And my point here today is that people go through something similar for AI. So don't expect everybody to roll out the red carpet for you when you're talking AI. AI-driven projects require organizational readiness. They require automation, or they're bringing in automation. They're bringing in the use of all data. Heck, you look at these LLMs, they're having to create data in order to have more data for training. They've already used up all the data on the internet. All the data in the world we're now using, and then some. It's real time, all time. It's job changes and new roles, more and different technology. And people still will put down artificial intelligence because of that word artificial. Yeah, it's not real. Well, it is real, and it requires organization transformation, more than the right data and a good database and good technology and a good algorithm, I might add. It presents great opportunities, but also poses significant implementation risks. And you will encounter many issues that are people related. You may not be aware right at the beginning that, oh, this is a people related issue that's inhibiting the project. Well, maybe now you will be. Maybe now you will be, because I'm warning you that you're going to encounter many people hesitancy issues around AI. Education is the key. Educate in many ways, early and often. Dispel misconceptions. I'm going to give you what the major misconceptions are here in a minute. This includes everyone in the company. Big AI proclamations are fine to do in organizations. That's how much reality is going to change. And that's probably a thing we want to do to bring people along. Because if people are sabotaging or otherwise not buying into AI, it's going to be harder to get these projects done. Make it a shared learning process rather than acute change. And as always, with everything, you have to have a sense of urgency. It will take time, and you have to be patient with it. But you bring that sense of urgency, and that will translate to the organization. Now, this is fun to talk about. Emerging roles in the enterprise. I was talking to a computer science major the other week, and we were going through these things. He was trying to find his way in this new world of AI, and he wanted to do something that nobody was doing. Well, people are doing these things, but they're not well developed yet. But they're gonna be great careers, and maybe they're the right career for you. Prompt engineer, your organization, in other words, your organization is going to be hiring, if you're in a big organization anyway, it's going to be hiring all these people and then some in the next decade. I would say 2025 is going to be the start of it. And maybe you have some of this already, but in a few years, you'll have all of it. Mid-sized organizations, people might wear multiple hats and so on, of course, but these things are going to get done. Prompt engineer. Oh, you mean just how we use ChatGPT, how we prompt it? That's a job? Oh yeah, that's a job. Oh yeah, that's a job that's paying extremely well because there are so many LLMs. You want to get it right. You also want to share good prompt engineering methods back to the organization, and you want it embedded in your processes. For example, in master data management, you might be looking up, I don't know, let's say you sell cars, you might be looking up car descriptions. Okay, you want it consistent across all cars. You want it a certain way. You want to have certain keywords and so on. That's a special prompt. And organizations have hundreds to thousands of these. And so prompt engineering is becoming part of a lot of things. And I just recognized that guy has 3 hands. Thank you, AI, for doing that. AI trainer, AI auditor. I think these things are self-explanatory. AI ethicist. What about that? What about that? Shannon told me that she's hiring an AI ethicist to give a keynote at one of her conferences, and I want to hear that because this is going to be it's going to be big. This is responsible for ensuring AI is used safely and ethically, reducing bias and increasing fairness in algorithmic systems. Yeah. Machine manager, cybersecurity analyst, protecting against AI-driven cyber attacks, which are happening all the time now, right? AI business strategist. Ooh, someone that knows AI enough to really prioritize the direction of AI in the organization. Great stuff. Here are some of the misconceptions of AI that you want to dispel, you want to get ahead of. These are true misconceptions. And when they play out, it builds trust. In other words, when change doesn't happen overnight, you told them it wouldn't, that helps build out trust. Misconceptions are that change is overnight. AI is a technology. It's already conscious, will take over the world, better than humans at everything. It's another gimmick. You got things on either end of the spectrum. AI is garbage, or AI is, going to take over tomorrow. So all these fears, you need to be getting ahead of, and you never know when the person you're talking to, especially as you get away from the AI experts here on this call, and you never know where they're coming from when you're talking about AI. Acknowledge the realities. 65% of predictive models are never implemented in production. 5 months is the average time to develop, test, validate, deploy, and scale one new analytical model. And the data is still challenged. There are still challenges ahead, for sure. It's not going to be rosy. And so we want to acknowledge these realities and get people to help us by doing their part. And also I'll add that a lot of the firms out there putting forward their test cases and their use cases and so on. We're talking about Google and Apple and Amazon. We're not all Google, Apple, and Amazon, right? Okay. I mean, people come to this webinar, you're in insurance companies, you're in telecom, you're in retail, you're in finance, you're in healthcare, you're in government. And you're welcome here if you're from Google, by the way. That's not what I'm saying. But for the rest of us, we have more realities to deal with than a lot of the use cases that you will see. Now, these are my suggested project organizational change work products. You put them right on the backlog. When you are filling out the backlog for the project, these should go on that backlog. Stakeholder management issues, broader communications that need to get done, and organizational training that needs to get done as part of any AI project, especially your early ones. And you can do this in a centralized manner or embedded in a project, just so they get done. And finally, the third pillar here is data and architectural readiness. Is your data ready for AI? You might be, but what about your data? And if the data is not, you certainly are not as well. Okay, so I do like that data is the new oil. I like that. People don't like it that I like things that sound like that, but I like it. I get it. And your AI data is going to come from everywhere. Your AI data for training and inference, call center recordings and chat logs, streaming sensor data, all the things you see here and then some, right? So don't exclude data necessarily from the body of data that you're going to need for AI. You're going to want to harness for AI. Data architecture maturity. Now, I gave a whole presentation on this, but this is very important to being ready for AI. People often ask me, where do I get the data from that that I need for AI? Well, I'm going to answer that question in a couple slides, but for telling that slide, it's the lake house, but the lake house is comprised of many, many things. As a matter of fact, the stack, which I alluded to before, is bigger than ever, bigger and more complicated than ever. And I see no signs of abating, not much anyway, in 2025. There's going to be some pockets of simplification, and we are doing some optimization out there around our databases. Maybe we're storing too much data. Maybe we can offload some data from real time. And there are different things we can do. A lot of it's in in a cost-saving manner. But regardless, your architecture needs to be mature enough for AI. It's not just your data, it's also the architecture. So if you have a low maturity data lake, it's a, what do they call it? A data swamp when it's a data lake gone wrong. If you have one of those, you're not ready. You're not ready. And all of these things that I'm talking about today, these are knockout factors for moving forward. These are knockout factors for moving into the project itself, if you will, whereby you are training algorithms on data. That's ultimately what we want to get down to. But you're not there if you're missing on any of these things like data architecture. Enterprise data is still a mess too, by the way. A lot of proliferation of data sources, complexity of data formats, lack of data governance. And now we have the push into AI. Well, we're pushing into AI, but sometimes our foundation is not where it needs to be in terms of the enterprise data. Because if you train your AI on data that is not up to a standard of quality, and I've given a whole presentation on what that standard, how to define your own standard here for data quality. But anyway, it's all going to go wrong. It's all going to go wrong. You're going to do something that's not trusted. And that's when the team gets a black eye and AI gets a black eye. The proliferation of data sources means that organizations are now collecting data from a wide range of sources than ever before, including internal, external. Externals become really big. Social media and the internet in general has become really big in terms of data that's interesting now to an enterprise. If you are limiting yourself to your own data that you create inside, that's a big limitation. And that tells me you're not ready for AI. So where do you get that data? I've already said it. Get data from my data lake house. It will be more or less a distributed lake house. Of course, we know what a data lake house is, a lake and a data warehouse working together. It's a good idea, but all points of integration are points of failure. And if you're not drilling through appropriately from the warehouse to the lake, then you don't really have a lake house. That's what defines a lake house, them two working together. We could talk for a while about the split of data between the warehouse and the lake, maybe making the lake a staging area for the warehouse. There's a few ways to skin this cat. But at the end of the day, you want to end up with a mature lake house. And that helps you be ready for AI. That's where you'll get most of your data from for AI. Data lakes have emerged to handle raw data in a variety of formats for cheap storage for data science and machine learning though lacked critical features from the world of data warehouses. So data warehouses have some critical features like the formatting of the data, the predictability of the data, perhaps better data quality. Perhaps it's of lower volume, it's higher importance of data per capita, if you will. So the lake houses are fully enabled today. Metadata layers are there, new query engines that perform like SQL on the lake house, etc. So that's an answer to a question that I get a lot. Plan for data drift. Now, this means the model's not changing necessarily, but it is reality that's changing while the model remains static. So you have to address data drift. You have to have continuous monitoring of the data distribution and model performance. It's essential to detect out those data drifts early. Regular model retraining and updating will be the number one thing that you can do to make sure that your data is not drifting away. Regular model retraining and updating. And there are also some feature engineering that you can do around your data, like polynomial transformations. That's creating new features by raising existing features to a power. Log transformations, transforming features using a logarithmic function, and so on. So there's different techniques here, but it must be part of your data DevOps if you want to do AI right. And you need to focus on data quality. I say about 10% of the budget. I say that if you heard my data quality presentation, because I made a big point about it, that it needs budget, it needs focus, it needs attention, but it pays off. There's ROI to it. So for example, clean data, it's the key to unlocking the power of many business processes. And of course, we're impacting them with AI, right? So if you need to do information-based in-store and contact center cross and upselling, then you need clean customer and product data, and perhaps several other domains of data to do it well and to do it right. But they need to be clean. They need to be at a quality standard. Perfect? No, probably not, but clean enough for purpose. And remember, when you're talking about a data warehouse or a data lake or any sort of shared environment, you need to be putting data in there and making it available, making that data available at a standard for every use imaginable going forward. Because can you imagine, like, you build it for predictive maintenance, but along comes fraud detection and saying, hey, I want to use that data. Oh no, you can't use it because it's not clean enough for you. Let's build it to be as clean as possible, putting some budget behind it, and knowing that even for AI, and maybe even especially, you might say especially for AI, the data needs to be clean enough. Okay, so I've taken you through all the readiness components that I could think of in 1 hour around AI. I know you're going to do AI in 2025. You're going to have your good days. You're going to have your bad days. But you just want to be moving upwards generally. You might have a plan. Now you think that if you knock all these out, your plan is going to be like the top slide here or image here. No, more like the bottom image, okay? Just know it. Remember I said along the way here, you've got to commit. Commit to AI, the good days and the bad days, the learning that you have to do, the initial projects taking longer than they should, the training of people that's required, the new need to do organizational transformation that you didn't do before. All these things are the new things when it comes to AI projects. So in summary, AI is big change. AI readiness is essential across AI process, organization, and data architecture. Align AI with business goals, adopt ML ops early. People will resist AI. I made a big point of that. AI requires organizational transformation, strategies coming from the top, acknowledgement of realities, acknowledgement of the reality that this is changing so fast that whatever proclamation I make here today, I might change it a quarter from now in terms of what we're doing. But there are some stakes you can put in the ground today in regards to how AI will be used, how it will be used, for example, ethically, how you will attend to data drift and not let those kind of problems fester, etc. AI is here and it represents big change. Okay, I said that. OCM, organizational change management, is essential to organizational transformation to AI. Education is the key. Education is the key to bringing those people along. Don't push it off until the very end. Oh, I'm done with the project. Now let's do some organizational change management. Too late. Too late. Now the project go live is going to be delayed by some months while people drag it back because they weren't part of it. Okay, don't let this happen to you. An AI leader in an organization, what a dynamic job that's got to be, and so many things to take care of, enough things to where it could make you go nuts, right? But with an organized plan, and you're taking care of these readiness factors, you can do it. You can get it done in your organization and help make your organization AI ready. Oh, and last bullet, get AI data primarily from a data lakehouse. So with that, I'll turn it back to Shannon, see if we have any questions, but good luck to you in making your organization AI ready in 2025.
William, thank you so much for this great presentation and just what a great content and topic, as you say. So just to answer the most commonly asked questions, just a reminder, I will send a follow-up email to all registrants by end of day Monday for this webinar. And if you have questions for William, feel free to put them in the Q&A panel. We've got a few minutes, so I'm going to dive in here. William, what can analysts do today to prepare for AI, especially AI that can create and run code and connect to data? For example, move into technical, project management, leadership, other.
So the analyst role is really changing. It's one of the most impacted roles in an organization today. I think you have to learn what the models can do in terms of analysis and use that analysis, but also curate that analysis and make sure it's applicable and learn how to use the analysis versus actually doing a lot of the analysis. And this analysis, all analysis has to get to work in the organization. So it's great to know something, but you have to do something with that information. And I think and I'm not trying to put a rosy picture on it, but I really think the job's going to be great in 2025 because I think that you're going to be freed up a bit to actually make it happen in the organization, because so much of analysis to date, it stops with the learning. You learn something, okay, great. Well, what do we do about it? And you're going to get to think that way as you go forward, because a lot of the analysis, you're going to use AI to do it.
Perfect. And along these lines, what guidance do you have for citizen data scientists?
Oh, the citizen data scientist. All right. All right. Well, that's sort of a layer of data scientists that maybe isn't PhD'd and all into it deeply, but has one foot in the business and not sitting off in some sort of research group. There's need for both. There's need for both. I may or may not use the term citizen data scientist, but I get what you're saying. And so I think they're back to my first answer a lot, which is make sure that the data science that you're curating from data with AI turns into something actionable for the organization. And it hits one of those factors that is trying to drop or increase something by a point. That's very important to the board. And so targeting the right things with the right AI, that's important to any data scientist, a citizen data scientist, or another one that may be sitting off more or less isolated, doing research, trying to do some really big things for the company. But most of us are, I mean, most of who is a data scientist by label, by title, are still pretty firmly entrenched in the business. And they do need to get things done. They may be given a slightly bigger leeway than the rest of us, but they still need to get things done. So I'm just back to, for the citizen data scientist, improve the business through the analysis and use AI to do it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And we've got another question here. We've got just a couple minutes left to slip this last one in. So what overall percentage is data governance required for a successful AI transformation?
By percentage, I'm not sure what is meant here, but I think that the allocation of data governance in an enterprise is going to it needs to be solid with non-AI stuff, okay? And but whether it's solid or not, it's going to start to drift into AI territory in 2025, meaning it's going to have to put its attention on AI projects and what AI can do, which is new to this organization. So it would be great for, I can just tell you where I'm kind of guiding my clients' data governance organizations today. Learn about AI. Learn about AI's impact on projects that are coming your way in 2025. And let's talk about what we need to do from a data governance perspective to support those projects. And it's going to mean a lot of the same things as before, but a lot of new things. And this is exciting. This is exciting for data governance in 2025, I think. What about the role of ethics? What about the role of explainability? In what I've seen, that falls back on data governance a lot of times. So data governance needs to recreate itself in 2025. It needs to figure out how to be applicable to the organization with where the organization is today. And that's with AI. And so there's a lot of great opportunity in AI with governance to do a lot of the things I mentioned. I had a slide on the new roles. Okay, maybe they start in the organization in data governance. Maybe they continually stay there. Who knows? Who knows where it's all going to go? But I think data governance in many organizations, it's a great resource, doing great things. And I would hate to see that fall aside because the organization is turning to shiny new objects and thinking data governance isn't a part of it. Make yourselves as data governors part of it, part of AI.
Oh, William, thank you so much for another great presentation. But I'm afraid that is all the time that we have for today. Thanks to all of our attendees for being so engaged in everything that we do. Just a reminder, I will send a follow-up email by end of day Monday with links to the slides and links to the recording from this session. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, William.
Bye-bye.
Happy holidays, y'all.